The abdominal muscles are accessory muscles or secondary muscles of respiration. What they're doing is they're pushing in on the viscera, forcing the diaphragm up. Okay? And that is going to cause expiration. It's going to cause exhalation. Now, those of you that run know that after a run, especially after a vigorous run, you're panting. Okay, you're breathing hard. Okay, so exercise, among other things, burns calories well after the exercise stops because of all the muscular activity, excuse me, including the beating of the heart. Now that slows down to normal. So all of that adds up to extra calories burned post-exercise. So what are the organs of digestion? Well, first off, what is digestion? Digestion is the breaking down of food to molecules that can be absorbed. A Big Mac can't be absorbed. Thank goodness. Okay? But we digest it, and then all of the components are in molecular form, and then we can absorb it. We do this in a couple of ways. We do this mechanically. Now, chewing would be mechanical digestion, where you're breaking large bites down into particles, but that's still the same makeup. It's not digested chemically yet, but because we have more surface area, instead of one big bite, we have lots of little crumbs. Then we can digest things much more easily. Enzymes can get at the food much more easily and break it down. So digestion starts in the mouth, and it starts by chewing. That would be mechanical digestion. But it also starts by chemical digestion. We have salivary glands, and they release saliva. And in the saliva is an enzyme, salivary amylase. Amylase is an enzyme, it ends in ASE. Now, because it says salivary, there's going to be another amylase later on. Amylase works on starch. Starch is glucose, 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 ad nauseum, with side chains of glucose, 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 glucose. Okay? Now, I would probably need to say that 1,000 times over, because that's a starch molecule. And salivary amylase would start to break it into glucose, maltose, and then a triose. And I'll show you that on the board. And then there is lingual lipase. Lingual means tongue. So the tongue actually secretes some liquid. And in that liquid is an enzyme that helps to digest fat. Fat is what's called a triglycerol. It's glycerol and alcohol, and 3 fatty acids attached. Fatty acids don't all have to be the same. Now, you remember from 131, you saw a phospholipid. A phospholipid was a phosphate and 2 fatty acids attached to glycerol. So this is 3 fatty acids. Now, lingual lipase will break it down into 2 fatty acids and a monoglycerol, and those can be absorbed by your intestines. So this is all starting in the mouth, and will take place as long as you chew. Some of us are fast eaters, chew, chew, swallow. Some of us like the taste, chew, 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 savor the taste, and swallow. The longer you chew, the more you're digesting. You decide when to swallow, which is good because it's not automatic. Okay, it would be very, very problematic if swallowing was automatic. So you decide when to swallow. You do that by forcing what's now food plus liquid, called a bolus, into the back of the throat, pharynx, and then down towards the esophagus. The esophagus is the tube that runs from the mouth to the stomach. So there's esophagus. Okay. Behind the trachea. Here's the trachea. So the esophagus is behind the trachea. Now the upper third of the esophagus is skeletal muscle. So is the tongue, skeletal muscle. So when you decide when to swallow, you relax the upper esophageal sphincter, you push food into the esophagus, and you begin the swallowing motion. Middle third of the esophagus is a mixture of smooth and skeletal muscle. And the lower third of the esophagus is strictly smooth muscle. So that even though you initiate it, once you've initiated, it's on its way. There's no getting it back. From there, food goes into the stomach. And the sight, the sound of cooking, the smell, the taste, Big Mac, the thought, okay, gets the digestive system secreted. Not much, but the stomach is prepared for what's coming. Once you put a bolus of food in there, more secretions will come from the stomach. Now, we know stomach acid. Stomach acid helps denature protein. Protein is folded, right? Protein has shape. So this unravels the shape. And that allows enzymes to get at the chemical bonds between the amino acids much easier. And in the stomach is also an enzyme, pepsin, okay, secreted as pepsinogen, which in the presence of stomach acid becomes pepsin, which helps to digest protein into amino acids. So digestion is continued in the stomach. Here we had carbohydrate and fat. Here we're having protein. The stomach also is mechanical. Mixing. Okay, churning. Okay, taking that bolus, which is mostly a solid, mixing it with more secretions, turning it into liquid. So we have this. Now, we have a lower esophageal sphincter. That sometimes is called the cardiac sphincter because it's in the region of the cardia of the stomach. The stomach has a dome called a fundus. It has a greater curvature and a lesser curvature. It has a pylorus and then a pyloric sphincter. The stomach will relax the pyloric sphincter, and one of the churns will squirt a little bit of now what's called chyme, much more liquid, okay, than solid, into the duodenum, which is the first 18 inches of a very long measured in feet, measured in, depending on the book, 20 feet of small intestine. The small intestine will single back to the stomach. That's enough, and the pyloric sphincter will close again, and the churning will die down. So now we have, well, not much, but we have the duodenum. We have the duodenum. And the small intestine will have three sections: duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Duodenum is where major digestion starts in the small intestine for a number of reasons. One, the small intestine, the brush border of the small intestine secretes enzymes. And two, the pancreas delivers its enzymes into the small intestine. Now, pancreas delivers a lot more enzymes than the small intestine. The small intestine delivers a lot as well. So this is where most of your digestion is going to be initiated. Okay? And then continue in the jejunum, but in the jejunum, absorption is starting. Enough digestion has taken place that absorption can start. Ileum is going to be the final absorption of food as molecule. And then food is going to be placed in the large intestine. And the large intestine starts over here, goes up, across, turns again and goes down. So ascending colon. This is on the side where the liver resides. So this turn would be the hepatic flexure. This would be transverse colon. This is on the side of the spleen, so this is splenic flexure. Descending colon. Now it takes an S turn, so it is called sigmoid colon. And then finally the rectum, which is the storage site. Now mostly water is absorbed in the colon. Final water balance is absorbed in the colon. Now you secreted a lot of water by putting a lot of digestive enzymes in there. So some of the water is reabsorbed, but some of the water is from your meal, from your food, and from the liquid you consume along with the food. So mostly water, some electrolytes, okay. Vitamin K, okay, would be absorbed here, and 1 or 2 of your B vitamins, which would be made in your colon. Rectum is the final storage site prior to defecation. Now, let's see. I got to get a couple more things. So, salivary glands. Here, here, and here. Probably going to want to come around.
Pharosi.
Salivary glands. You're probably going to want to stand up. Salivary glands. Here, here, and here. Parotid here. Sublingual here, and submandibular. Okay? So 3 different glands. Okay? Mostly by location. Your teeth. Okay? Your front teeth, the 2 front, upper and lower, are what's called incisors. They are what you use to break off a chunk of food. The next, the pointy ones, the vampire ones, are called the canines. Then you have premolars and molars. Well, some of us don't have as many molars. Okay? Yep. Wisdom teeth were molars. Okay? And I, for one, had a molar. those are your teeth, and I'll get a teeth model. Okay. Same kind of things that you looked at in the nasal cavity would hold true for the oral cavity. What's around it? Okay. Well, the lips. Okay. The place between your lip and gum is called the vestibule. The vestibule. The bones would be the maxillary bone and the mandibular. Okay. And then the palatine bone. Let's see what else is going to come out here. Not that. Okay. Esophagus we'll look at on one of those calf models, the sagittal sections, for the upper esophageal sphincter and lower esophageal sphincter. Stomach we went over, cardia region, fundus, body, which has a lesser curvature, greater curvature, and then the antrum to the pylorus, which would be where it starts to neck down. The pyloric chamber or pylorus and the pyloric sphincter. Now, I need to show the stomach has folds. The folds are called rugae. Rugae. And this region here, cardia, fundus, body, antrum, or opening to the pylorus. That's where this necks down just a little bit. This would be the antrum. And that would be the pyloric sphincter. On this side is duodenum. On this side is stomach. Okay. Now, stomach acid, roughly pH 1.7, very, very acidic. pH 7.4, basic. So enzymes that are capable of working at pH 1.7 are negated on this side. And these enzymes would be negated if the pH 1.7 continued in the duodenum. One of the things that the secretions of the pancreas and the secretions of the duodenum have to do is buffer stomach acid. And they do that with bicarbonate ion, okay, which we saw made in the red blood cell. Well, it's made in a lot of places in the body, same enzyme. So we go then into the duodenum. Okay? Now, this is pancreas right here. And if you take your right hand, make a fist, and put it in the crook of your arm, you have the pancreas and you have the duodenum. Okay? Head, body, tail of the pancreas. Head, body, tail of the pancreas. You have the pancreatic duct, which becomes two ducts, a main pancreatic duct and an accessory pancreatic duct. The main pancreatic duct is that which joins with the common bile duct. So that would be that one. And the accessory would be that one. Main one has a sphincter called the sphincter of Oddi, okay, at the duodenal papilla, Why have an accessory, okay? This comes from the gallbladder, where you make gallstones. Most of the time, the stones are very large and stay in the gallbladder. Sometimes there's a small stone that escapes. That's when you have a gallstone. And now you eat fatty food, and I guess I shouldn't have had that Big Mac. get a gall attack, okay, where the gallbladder is trying to secrete by squeezing, but the stone is not letting it out. That stone can travel, and if that stone gets to here and blocks that duct, when the pancreas is called on to secrete that would remain in the pancreas, and you digest your pancreas. Okay, that would be pancreatitis. Pancreatitis, if that continues for any length of time, that would be called pancreatic cancer. And that's a death sentence. That is a death sentence. So you have an accessory duct. Okay.
Boy, another one.
The liver. My liver is a little enlarged. Okay. You have a right lobe, you have a left lobe. And between them you have a falciform ligament. You have a caudate lobe, looking like a beaver's tail, and a quadrate lobe. This would be the inferior vena cava. Note we have 4 different colors for vessels. The green is for bile. Red and blue, okay, that's what you would expect. Purple. Purple is the hepatic portal system. The hepatic portal system. So this would be the hepatic portal vein. Everything that you absorb from the digestive tract goes into the hepatic portal system with one exception. And that is fatty acids, triglycerides. That is bypassed because that goes into the lymphatic system. But everything else goes into the hepatic portal system to the liver first, because the liver is the biochemical factory of the body. Anything that you may need to keep your cells running properly, or even to keep you running properly, can be made in the liver. So the liver gets first shot at all of your digested food, except for fatty acids. The heart wants that, because it's 9 kilocalories per milligram, okay, instead of 4. And the heart needs to be 24/7, so it wants a high energy source. Okay, now, difficult to see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different vessels that we have to take accounting. Now again, like this. This is left, this is right. The left hepatic duct, the right hepatic duct, the common hepatic duct, into the cystic duct, which is where we condense bile. We remove water and store it in the gallbladder. And then from the cystic duct into the common bile duct, which we see again there. Let's see. This isn't quite a match. Not a very good match. This way, okay, that works better. Okay. There's 3 areas of small intestine. Duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Duodenum's next to the stomach. Ileum is next to the large intestine. So this would be ileum because it's emptying into the small intestine. Here's the very last bit of ileum. This beginning portion of the large intestine is called the cecum. Coming off of the cecum is the villiform appendix. There's your appendix. Ileum, cecum, so the valve is the ileocecal valve. Now, look at the shape of this. It's designed so that food can get through this way but can't come back. In here, you're going to see collections of white blood cells, especially rich in the appendix. That's because this is filled with bacteria, and this is pure and pristine. So if, for some reason, that valve doesn't close, then you would get bacteria in here that you wouldn't want there. You have troops that can be marshaled right there. So ascending colon, the pouches are called haustra. There are bands of connective tissue called tinea coli, and I don't know if we're going to see it. We'll see it on one model. Instead of a sheet of fat, you have fatty appendages all along here called epiploic appendices. Just love this. God, he's driving me nuts. Okay? And that'll do for now. I'll come up with more.